Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelou and today it is Tag Tuesday and today I am doing the Black History Month book tag. I started this channel last year in maybe April or May, so I missed out on this tag, but I decided I was looking for something to do for this week and I thought surely there's a good Black History Month book tag, and indeed there was, and a lot of people did this tag last year. I started to see this week a few people doing it this year, and I'm going to join in. And this is a fantastic tag created by, hold on, let me get the name of this channel correctly. Books by Leynes. And I will link the original video in the description for you to enjoy. And also, so many people did this last year. A lot of people that I follow, I found they had done this tag last year, so I tiptoed through the tags before I started filming this because I enjoyed this tag very much. And of course, we all know that we do not hoard up our books by Black authors and save them for Black History Month, but it is a time to stop and acknowledge some of the excellent books that you may have read before and you want to go back and appreciate. You may not have read before, discover something new and wonderful, and think about what we have upcoming in our TBR from Black authors. So I'm going to go through the questions with my answers, and please let me know in the comments what you think about these selections or other books that come to mind when you hear the questions of these tags. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if they lead me to reading something that I had not thought about. So here we go. All right, the first question is, what is a book that, and I'm going to be looking over here at these questions, so, you know, you're going to have to deal with the side of my head. What is a book everyone should be reading during Black History Month? Give one fiction and one nonfiction title. Okay, I'm going to cheat just a little bit on part of that. All right, so a book that everyone should be reading. I always kind of put that forth with a little disclaimer because there's usually not a book that I would recommend to every single person that I know, but I really do feel like everybody should read The Trees by Percival Everett. The Trees is kind of almost, it's coming close into the territory for me of Catcher in the Rye, where I keep bringing it out over and over for different prompts and videos. But I cannot emphasize enough the impact that this book had on me as a reading experience last year. It was definitely, you know, when I did my video of basically my top 24, but it was like the top 12 and the next 12, and this was in my top 12, and I didn't really rank those books like a countdown, but if I had to go all the way up, this is definitely in my top 3. And it is, I'm not going to go on. I think we all know about The Trees at this point, but if you have been thinking about reading it and you have not yet read it, this would be a perfect time to read it in light of Black History Month, in light of America at this moment, this author. I did not know about Percival Everett until last year. This was my first experience, and now I've gone on to read The Telephone, and then another book that I'm going to, in my TBR pile that I'm going to talk about in a minute, and he has a few more that I want to make my way around to as well. But I am now on the path to read everything past, present, and future by Percival Everett. But The Trees is powerful, and I experienced every possible emotion round and round and round during this book. Just laughter, tears, funny, sad, suspenseful, crazy, confusing, bewildering, everything in one book. So The Trees by Percival Everett. Then another book that I want to mention. Now everybody might know about this book too, but like I said, I started participating in the BookTube community less than a year ago. So when I read this book a few years ago, and Stephen also read it, we felt like we didn't hear enough people talking about this book. But then, now that I see that it won the Giller Prize and was shortlisted for the Booker, I am assuming that all of you folks were already talking about it, and I was just late to the party. But I want to mention Washington Black. And it is a story about a young boy who begins his life as a slave on a plantation in Barbados. There is a scientist who's the brother of his original master, who takes him in as an assistant. Titch is a scientist, and he spots Washington's intelligence and trains him in the sciences. And also Washington, or Wash as he goes by, discovers that he also has a talent for art. And due to all kinds of circumstances, they end up going to a lot of places during the course of this book. They go to Virginia, they go to London, they go to the Arctic, I think they go to Morocco, they go to a lot of places. It's a powerful story. So if you haven't ever read it, I would suggest you circle back and give it a try. And the author is the chair of this year's Booker Prize. There's a third book that I want to recommend, and I'm kind of replacing the nonfiction part of the prompt because this is actually a poetry book, and it's a children's book. It is The Undefeated by Kwame Alexander and illustrated by Kadir Nelson. This is a book intended for upper elementary and young adult readers. I would say it is probably appropriate for maybe third grade-ish or upper elementary through adults. I think anybody who's on the younger end, you want to read it with them and discuss and provide some background information, because it is a poetry book about Black history, Black joy, struggles, triumphs, perseverance. It's really, really beautiful. And to get a sense of this book, I have included a clip of Kwame Alexander reading from the book to a group of Scottish school children. I wish I had a clip of him reading to a group of American school children, because it is an American history poem. But I'm going to guess that this book is being challenged in some schools because of its content. But it is a wonderful collaboration between two powerhouses in children's literature, and it is really for everybody. It is a book that I really loved, that came out right about the time when I was getting ready to retire, and I made sure to leave it behind in my school library. And I did look it up in the catalog yesterday when I was thinking about this video, and I made sure that it is still there, and it is. But it is a beautiful picture book format of a poem that I think everybody should enjoy at any month, but especially this month. Number 2, which Black booktuber would you recommend watching and why? Well, I have several in my group, but I'm going to recommend the person who actually originated this tag, because when I do a tag, I like to go back and look at that original video, and then in the process of that, I usually look through that person's channel and often subscribe. And that's what happened in this case. And the channel is called, I just had to check this, and now I have to check it again because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But it's Books by Leynes, and I will be including it in the notes. But she has some pretty terrific content in here. So I watched this tag that she originated, which I think is a really good one. I watched some of her other videos, and I especially enjoyed one that she has about epic first lines in novels, and I can include that one in the descriptions as well. So based on my fun that I had watching that video and her tag video, I had to subscribe to her, and I recommend that you check her out as well. The next question is, what is your favorite book written by a Black author from an African country? And I'm going to go with a book that I don't have here in my library, because it was a library book, not out of my library. And that was Behold the Dreamers by Imbolo. It might be, I don't know if it's Mbue or just Bue. Maybe I should have looked that up before I started. But anyway, the author is from Cameroon, and this was a book that came out maybe about 5 years ago that I really enjoyed. And I know that she's written a subsequent, more recent book, but I have not read that book yet, which is called How Beautiful We Were. And if anyone's read that, let me know if I should put that on my TBR. I kind of knew she wrote another book, but then I forgot about it, and then I remembered it again when I was looking up to make sure I spelled her name correctly for this video. But Behold the Dreamers is an immigration story about a couple from Cameroon who have come to the U.S. They're in New York. They're living in a Harlem apartment. They're trying to get green cards, and the husband gets a job as a driver for a very wealthy executive with Lehman Brothers. And the wife is trying to earn a college degree. They have a young child, and they are struggling. They're trying to make it. They're trying to stay in the U.S. And there's this, you know, this parallel reality in the same city between their life and the lives of this ultra wealthy couple that he works for. And then the Lehman Brothers crash occurs, and the kind of the financial crisis of the, I don't know, what year was it? Like 2009, was that the year? And it kind of causes a cave-in of the house of cards in which this couple is living and counting on to sustain them until their green card could come through. You know, so it was a marriage story. It was an immigration story. It was a story of the American dream and people trying to get a foothold, and also the story of like kind of out of touch, clueless people, and just a lot of things were going on in that story. It's not a particularly cheerful story, but it's a realistic story that has the spirit of it has stayed with me in the years since I read it. What is your favorite Black classic? The one that immediately comes to mind, that I think probably came up in a number of these videos, but I love this book, is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I have not reread this in a while. I've read it 2 or 3 times, and it is in this book that is combined with a couple of her other works. But I really love this story about Janie and tea cake, and it is just, I need to read it again. You know, sometimes I have the feel left over of a book I love, but then when I start to try to recall the details, it's just in little flashes and pieces of what happened. And then I think I need to read it again to knit that memory back together, because this was an emotional story about a strong woman, and I feel like it's time to probably revisit it this year. This video is just like kind of blowing up my TBR, just thinking about things that I want to go back through and read again. So that is my selection. Okay, the next one is, which movie, book to movie adaptation or documentary would you recommend watching during Black History Month? I strongly recommend, if you have not yet watched Summer of Soul, the documentary, I really recommend that you watch that. And watch it this month or whenever you can, because it is really a fantastic experience. And I think that movie is available on Hulu. It won Best Documentary last year at the Oscars for Questlove. It was his first, I think, directing, and I don't know how directing and producing. I know he directed it, and this was his movie. I don't know if he also produced it, but that is who put it together. And it is about in 1969, I want to get the name of this festival right. The Harlem Cultural Festival, which took place over 6 weeks in New York City in the summer of 1969, which of course was the same summer as Woodstock. And we know which of those music festivals got all of the publicity, fame, and glory, but this Harlem Cultural Festival was out of this world. The people that appeared and performed in this festival, the lineup is unbelievable. The footage is so fantastic. The spirit of it, the difference in nature between this festival and Woodstock, if you've ever watched that movie, is really striking and interesting. And it's just, the whole movie is put together. The explanation and the backstories are really terrific as well. But we really had a great time watching this movie, and I recommend it. And we don't watch a lot of documentaries, but this one really caught our attention, and we enjoyed it so much. As far as a book to movie, you know, I famously am really hard on these, and I watch them, and then I'm most of the time not happy with it, or else I just don't watch it at all because I just head off the unhappiness of the past. But I did watch The Underground Railroad, the adaptation of Colson Whitehead's novel, and I thought that that one was really good. They did make changes, but the changes did not make me unhappy. And I felt like if somebody saw this story and did not read the book, they still would get the spirit of the story. And if you did read the book, you would not be unhappy with how they adapted it, the things that they changed or expanded or left out or rearranged for structure. I thought that it was well done and well acted, and I enjoyed it. It is definitely a very heavy and serious, brutal at times. It is a wonderful story, so I do recommend that as well. All right, the next question. What is on your TBR for Black History Month? Well, I did do my TBR a little bit the other day, and I mentioned Dr. No. I have been eager to read it since it came out. This is his newest book, After the Trees, and I love Percival Everett, and I can't wait to read this book. Also, I just got Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. She's also, I know that she is not a new writer, and she's not even a living writer, but she was new to me last year because I read Parable of the Sower and loved it so much. And so I finally got the sequel, Parable of the Talents. I also read Kindred last year, which is also excellent. And then also, I don't know if I'll get to that this month, but this is in my TBR pile, is this book Scatterlings. But this is a South African author. This was a book that my daughter gave us for Christmas that looks really good, about a South African couple who is a mixed race couple, and in 1927, when the laws passed outlawing those type of marriages, they are left wondering what this is going to mean for them. So I'm looking forward to reading this historical fiction novel by this South African writer who is new to me. So that is upcoming. All right, and then let's see. Which new releases by Black writers are you looking forward to in this coming year? I'm most excited about the follow-up book to Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead, which is coming out this summer. And I just looked it up, and the title just fell right back out of my brain, but I'm going to put it up here. And that I think it's going to be another kind of mystery crime type book, which is going to carry over the characters from Harlem Shuffle. I think before its release, I might reread Harlem Shuffle because to refresh my memory. And when I was reading it, I've mentioned this before, but I kind of read it following pretty closely upon having read Underground Railroad and Nickel Boys. And so I was sort of waiting for something like really horrible and heavy and violent to happen. And it was a more subtle book than that, even though there's a crime story in the book, but it's a different tone of book. And I feel like it got a little bit underrated because of that. People were expecting another book of a certain type, and then this was a different story, but it's a really great story, and I think I want to read it again so that I can appreciate it more and refresh myself on the characters before that new book comes out. And also there is a book coming out. There's no visual for this yet. The cover picture hasn't been released, but Jasmyn Ward has a book coming out in October. It's called Let Us Descend. And it is going to be a book about a teenaged enslaved girl. And I don't know any more details about it, but Jasmyn Ward is really the only detail that we totally need to know to be excited about this upcoming book. All right, I did look and check. I was checking to see if Attica Locke was going to have a book coming out this year, because I really like her mystery novels, but nothing is mentioned right now. I think she's been doing, she's also a television writer, so I think she's been working on those projects this past year or two, but nothing new has on the docket. The last new book she wrote was Heaven My Home, which was the sequel to Bluebird, which I recommend, those two books. All right, that is it. That is my Black History Month book tag. A lot of people have done this tag before. So if you are kind of new like I am and you have not done a Black History Month tag, consider yourself tagged and share what titles you are looking forward to as well. Let me know in the comments what you think about these books or other books that you have been reading or thinking about for Black History Month. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.